BMW's more recent concept cars have been a bit out there. And as much as that annoys some people, surely that's exactly what a concept car is supposed to do. The company's back catalogue isn't as big as you might expect, but in it you'll find some absolute stonkers. And these are 8 such cars. If you do enjoy this video, look back and think, "Oh, that was great," then please do hit the like button. It helps us out massively. And then subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to make sure you see everything from Goodwood Road and racing. And then I'll work out exactly how you pronounce 2800 Spicup. As man was landing on the moon, I can't wait to see the comments after that sentence, something equally as space age was getting its rubber down on Earth. The 2800 Spicup fitted so well into the space race era that one of the publicity shots for it even featured driver and passenger looking like, well, like they were about to go into space. It wasn't exactly subtle about the connection. But despite its obviously populistic leanings, there was some point to the 2800 Spicup, and that was to showcase engineer Enzo Cingolani's innovative new sliding targa roof mechanism. Obviously, BMW couldn't just say, I don't know, add it to a new car or tell us that it existed. They had to add it to a car and pretend it was a spaceship with a weird name. That spacey design comes from Giorgetto Giugiaro, but was finished off by Gandini, hence the Alfa Montreal face. Underneath, it was based on the E3 saloon and, despite looking very much the opposite, was front-engined. That lump at the front hides a straight 6. The Spicup did the rounds at the motor shows in 1969 and then vanished from the face of the earth. Sadly, it wasn't anything as cool as returning to its own planet, but rather just disappearing before it turned up in the hands of a Dutch car dealer. Road registered, painted orange and black, it would then cover over 100,000 kilometres over the next decade, which surely makes it one of the single most travelled concept cars in history. Then, because apparently it had done some bad things in a previous life, it went back into storage again, this time for about 30 years. Finally, in 2008, it got a much needed restoration, including replacing its wooden bumpers which had been eaten by termites. That bloomin' awful name, by the way, was meant to be a portmanteau of spider and coupe, which doesn't even work anyway. 1972 was a big year for Munich. Not only was it set to host the Summer Olympics, and didn't those go well, but its home-based car company was going from strength to strength, and it fancied showing off this new confidence. First, BMW built itself a new headquarters in the city, and a museum. And then the E25 Turbo concept arrived, launched at the 1972 Paris Motor Show to get the world ready for the first turbocharged production car, the 2002 Turbo. If you think it looks familiar, it's because it does. The Turbo was based on a 2002 chassis, but looked absolutely nothing like one. Designer Paul Brack gave it the wedgiest of wedges, and that design form would be rekindled for the M1 and even the later Z1 and 8 series cars. But it wasn't just a wedgy face on a showcase of forced induction. The Turbo was meant to showcase a more safety-conscious future after the sports car crazed 1960s. It had crumple zones and an integrated roll cage. It had collapsible steering column, and there was even a radar-based braking distance warning. All standard now, pretty wild in the 1970s. This could actually be the most important concept car that you've never seen before. Have you ever wondered why the BMW Z1 has such weird doors? Well, it's quite simple. The car was never actually meant to be produced or sold at all, but such was the clamour when the Z1 concept made its first appearance that around 8,000 were made, complete with sliding doors, removable plastic bodywork, flat undertray and innovative multi-link rear suspension. Sadly, its sister Z car never made it into production. The Z1 Coupe was more of an early concept of the coupe SUV crossover, with a raised ride height and spotlights in the mirrors. If the Z1 itself was BMW technique letting its hair down, the Z1 Coupe suggests the designers then let some really funky substances into the room. With a stretched bonnet, rakish windscreen and prominent wheel arch blisters, it looks every bit as desirable as its sibling. Just imagine one with a surfboard on the roof. Since BMW bloody loves a will they won't they tease of an M1 successor, Italdesign and the Giugiaro family seem to have decided to just have a go themselves. While it wasn't designed by Giugietto himself, the man who designed the original M1, rather appropriately his son Fabrizio designed its potential successor, with Papa no doubt annoyingly hovering over his shoulder at every pencil stroke. What Fabrizio designed absolutely should have been made. Apparently inspired by F1 cars of the day and more noticeably Group C cars, the Nazca M12 looked awesome and was powered by a 5-litre V12 direct from the 850 and 750. BMW's involvement pretty much stopped at allowing Italdesign to use the badge and grille, so the rest was a total flight of Giugiaro fantasy. As such, it had carbon fibre bodywork and glazed gull-wing canopy. That canopy, by the way, was gull-wing, but the doors below opened conventionally. The M12 debuted at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1991 and a year later was refined into the possibly even better looking C2, which had more power as well. In 1993, Italdesign followed up with a Spider version. And BMW, well, they just ignore them all. What you shouldn't ignore though, is that like button if you're enjoying this, or the subscribe to the channel button, and then you can hit the bell icon and make sure you see everything we do, and I'll stop making this annoying interjection and we can talk about the very weird BMW Z22. Not every concept car has to be drop-dead gorgeous. Some of them should be weird, and we love the oddities as much as the stunners. In the case of the Z22, it was more about showcasing how BMW was thinking about the future of car tech. The Z in Z cars, by the way, stands for Zukunft, the German for future. In the 1990s, BMW ran a series of Z concepts showcasing potential new directions for its cars. There was the Z13, a rear-engine car like a Renault Twingo, the two-seater convertible off-roading Z18, and the Z21, which tried to combine the best bits of BMW bikes and cars. None of them were lookers, but the others just about make the unconventional Z22 look a little better than it does in isolation, although, no matter how you look at it, those triple-lensed headlights, they're a bit unsettling. But it did showcase the way that cars were probably going. Size was becoming one of the most important elements of car design, and the Z22 came with a lot of it. Despite being the size of a 3 Series, it had the wheelbase of a 7 Series, and therefore an interior akin to Heathrow Terminal 5. Despite debuting over 22 years ago, it had an F1-style carbon fibre monocoque, a heads-up display, cameras instead of door mirrors, steering and braking by wire, and even a fingerprint reader instead of a key. BMW could probably sell it right now, if it didn't look like, that. Back to cars that there's no way would ever have been built, but would have been bloody great if they had. The Concept Coupe Mille was an almost perfect tribute to BMW's original Mille winning 328 Touring. Underneath, it's a Z4 Coupe, but the Mille has been given a much better looking body than Chris Bangle's original. The slit-like headlamps could easily be seen on a BMW today, while the big, round lamps evoke the 328's big racing lights. It's also a fantastic update of the original upright kidney grille, slight and slim rather than M4 wide. The lights were LEDs and the whole canopy hinged away from the car, taking the split windscreen with it. At the rear, it was sleek, complete with racing spats and a sort of diagonal rear light. Just imagine seeing one of those gliding down your street. Geometry and functions in N adaptations. That is what the BMW GINA's name apparently stood for, but we presume it was still Georgina to its parents. It was a shape-shifting convertible built upon the running gear of the, at the time, still rather unloved Z8. It took a whole 7 years to engineer and build, meaning that it was a full 2 years after the Z8's reasonably lengthy production run had ended that the GINA would actually be showcased. It was clothed, and clothed is probably the perfect word, with polyurethane coated in spandex, stretched over an internal aluminium wire and carbon fibre strut structure. In total, there were just 4 body panels: bonnet, side, and boot lid. Its party trick? Those spandex panels meant the GINA could change its shape through a series of electric motors. On startup, the headlights could appear like eyes from slits in the front. The bonnet opened through a slit for engine access. At the back, the rear lights simply shone through a transparent part of the material. It could even grow a rear spoiler. If you thought Chris Bangle's earlier designs were out there, well. BMW's Hommage series, its 2 M's making the pronunciation always a bit of a minefield, has created some absolute stunners in recent years, all calling back to icons of previous times. But surely it's this 2015 3-litre CSL Hommage that must be the best, thanks partly due to having a stunning rear spoiler that integrates into the rear lights. There was even a racing version, complete with the classic BMW M official livery that was shown off to the public at Pebble Beach. This R version made the already brilliant Hommage look quite frankly bloody awesome. To showcase just how good a job the Hommage R did, if you stick it next to an original 3-litre CSL, it doesn't look completely overshadowed, which very few cars can say. Inside, a racing-inspired cut-down steering wheel takes centre stage in the cabin, where performance and track information is displayed to the driver through a trick slice of wood veneer. But it's that livery that really makes it stand apart. The standard, if it could be called standard Hommage, came in lurid fluoro yellow, but the R got that proper livery with some deep dish gold wheels. To be honest, it's BMW perfection. Those are 8 of BMW's greatest concept cars in its entire history. But which is your favourite? Tell us what we've missed out. Let us know in the comments below.